guys, welcome! In today's video, I'm going to be taking you along while I'm doing my baking for this week. And make sure to keep watching because I'm going to be making a fun new spring dessert that we've really been enjoying. So of course, the first step when I'm getting ready to do my sourdough baking for the week is to get my starter out of the refrigerator where it lives for most of the week, feed it, and let it sit before I start my baking. So I usually will let it sit for either all night or all day. When the weather gets warmer, this can happen in a lot shorter amount of time. But for right now, while it's spring and things are not super hot yet, I'll usually let it sit all night or all day. So as you probably know if you've been watching me for a little while, I like to feed my sourdough starter with a mixture of mostly whole spelt flour and then also a little bit of whole rye. So I'm mixing that together. I'm using spring water for my water today. Mixing that together well and then letting that sit. I'm mixing this up at night. This time I'm going to let it sit all night and then it'll be ready to bake in the morning. The first thing that I'm making today as I am getting my sourdough baking started for the week is our basic loaves of bread. Now, of course, as you probably know, if you do sourdough baking, this process is spread out over a number of days, and so you're going to see that. But as we get started, I'm going to go ahead and mix up my bread dough. This time I am making a pretty big batch of 4 bread loaves, and the reason for this is at the time of filming this video, we are getting ready to go on a little trip for spring break. By the time this video comes out, the trip will already be done and in the past, but at the time of filming, we are getting ready to leave. And so I know that we're going to want some bread before we leave, and then it's going to be really nice to have a couple of loaves of bread in the freezer ready to pull out and use when we come back home. So I wanted to make sure to do an extra big batch of bread this time so that we have lots of loaves to use. So I'm doing 4 loaves, and I'm doing my regular round loaves in the Dutch oven because lately that's been my favorite. I've been having a lot of fun doing the little scoring patterns on the top and playing with the rise time to get it to turn out just the right shape. So that's what I've been enjoying right now. For my bread loaves lately, I have really been using mostly all-purpose flour, and it's something that I've definitely thought a lot about. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions, so definitely leave me a comment down below and let me know what types of flours do you like to use. Do you lean more into all-purpose? Do you like to use more freshly milled whole grain flours? What do you like to do? So I've experimented quite a lot with different ones, and right now I'm leaning more into the all-purpose flour just because when it is all-purpose and it doesn't have the bran in it, it is the easiest on your digestive system, especially when it's paired with long fermentation and sourdough. So that's where I've been going lately. I know that there are great benefits to freshly milled whole grains, like certain vitamins that are in there that oxidize quickly when a whole grain flour sits around, and so those are great, but I just know that for myself, I try to be really intentional about including nutrient-dense foods that have a lot of those important fat-soluble vitamins in them. So like organ meats, grass-fed dairy, different things like that. And so I'm not relying on whole grains for those nutrients. So when I know that I'm, for example, pairing my sourdough bread with a big, thick layer of grass-fed butter, I'm not missing out, and the flour that's got the bran removed for the most part is going to be easier to digest. So that's where I've gone, but of course it's definitely a multifaceted discussion and there's lots of different opinions, and I'd love to hear what you guys think, so definitely leave me a comment and let me know. Today I am also mixing up a batch of hamburger buns, so that's that second bowl that you just saw me put together. So I have that mixed up and ready to go. I have the recipes linked down below in the description box for the things that I'm making here today. Some of the recipes are mine and some of them are not. The burger bun recipes are mine, and I've really been enjoying adding some stretch and folds and usually a cold ferment to these. I think it makes them a lot lighter and fluffier and nicer texture, so I've been enjoying that. But as you might know, we love having homemade hamburgers once a week, and so the hamburger buns have been in my weekly baking routine for a while for that reason. The other thing that I'm making is something that we've more recently been enjoying on a weekly basis, and that is homemade pizzas. So I'm getting some sourdough pizza crust mixed up as well. And this one, the recipe that I'm following, actually includes some all-purpose flour, but also some whole grain flour. So for that portion of the recipe, I've been enjoying camlet, so whole camlet flour. It's got a really nice flavor and great nutrient profile, so I've really been enjoying that. And so getting that pizza dough mixed up as well. And then I'm just gonna let these sit while everything comes together, do stretch and folds for the ones that need it. And once these are kind of out of the way, I'm gonna show you the fun spring dessert that I'm also making today. I don't know about you, but I know that for me, no matter how busy life gets, I actually don't see the stretch and fold and really the whole sourdough process altogether. Once I get started and get into it, I don't see it as an extra burden, like a thing I don't want to do. I actually really enjoy it, especially the stretch and fold process. I actually look forward to coming over and doing these when it's time to them. It's not time to do them. It's like a little break in my day that I get to go just get my hands into the dough, stretch it, and for some reason it's really satisfying. So I know that's something that I really enjoy. Let me know if you find that to be true as well. Also very fun is the process of actually shaping things into dough. So when it comes time to do that for the hamburger buns, for example, I always really enjoy working with them, shaping them. It's just about as satisfying as the stretch and folds. Definitely another one of my favorite parts of making things out of sourdough. And I think it's a great creative outlet. Like I said, no matter how busy life gets, it's not adding an extra thing to do, it's creating a break, something different to go focus on, a creative outlet that kind of recharges me, and a little break that you get to go and just do something completely different that's satisfying with your hands. It's creating something beautiful, it's making things that are good to eat, and the whole family benefits from it. So I know that I just really enjoy that aspect of it. The next recipe that I'm working on in this week are the sourdough pizzas. So these are something that we've been really enjoying. They're so easy to put together. We've been enjoying these on Saturdays for dinner, so a really fun kind of super kid-friendly treat type of a dinner to look forward to. We've all really been liking them. And so I double the recipe from the one that I have linked down in the description. So we actually get 8 personal sized pizzas from them, which is plenty for a dinner plus to have some left over afterwards. And this is really great. It's like my kids have come and helped me put these together some, so it's really fun for them to get involved as well. But it's really easy. You just shape the dough into kind of a flat circle, add it to the cast iron skillet over about medium-high heat. It's a really quick process too. So as that starts to cook on the bottom, you have your oven preheating to a broil setting, and then a rack, not all the way up at the top, but just a little bit down. And this is a 12-inch cast iron skillet. You spread on your toppings. So I'm doing sauce, I'm doing cheese, mozzarella cheese, pepperoni. I did get some people asking about the order of cheese the last time that I showed making these. So I know that I like cheese underneath the pepperoni for sure, but I also enjoy having a little bit of cheese on top so that it can kind of melt and brown. And I find that the pepperonis still brown up very nicely when there's even a little sprinkle of cheese over top of them. So I like having it both underneath the pepperoni and some more on top. I guess I just like a lot of cheese, but I know I've seen plenty of pizza restaurants do it that way too, which is where I got the idea. But sometimes I'll do it with no cheese on top of the pepperoni too. I just like to change it up a little bit here and there, but that's been my favorite way lately, is to do it that way. So let me know in the comments, how do you like to do your pizza toppings, and what else do you like to add? We were just keeping it pretty plain lately with, or basic really, with some nice all-natural uncured pepperoni, some nice all-natural mozzarella, organic pizza sauce, but we should really jazz this up a little bit and try some different toppings to make it a little different and interesting. So let me know what are your favorite pizza toppings in a comment. And now we're at a really fun step in the sourdough bread baking process, where I'm pulling the loaves out of their cold ferment in the fridge, doing the scoring and baking them. I have been figuring out some tricks to get that rise time just right for them. So I found that the key is to err on not going too long on that first initial bulk fermentation. So to accomplish that, if I have done an overnight fermentation, I have wrapped it in actually either some, like a blanket or a big heavy coat, and I've put it outside. So it's kind of like a cold bulk fermentation. And that worked okay. That actually kept it in a good time frame. And I have also just really kept an eye on it and made sure to stop sooner rather than later to make sure that it doesn't over ferment. And it gets tricky with the seasons changing and things getting a little bit warmer. When I did leave it outside wrapped in a warm coat for that first bulk fermentation, I made sure that it was a mild night and it didn't get down to freezing or anything like that. And then did the cold ferment in the refrigerator, and I made sure that if there was any chance that the first fermentation was on the long side, make sure to bake those after they've been in the fridge sooner rather than later. And then if I felt like the first fermentation was a good length of time, no risk of it being too long, then I could give a little more leeway and let them be in the fridge for, longer, couple days, day and a half, something like that, and it would still be okay. But if I keep it in there longer than 36 hours or so, I find that they still turn out kind of flat. But those are the tricks that I've discovered for getting that timing just right. And I know I'm going to need to adjust even more as we move into summer. That first fermentation is going to be pretty short, just to keep it from not being over fermented. But my sourdough hamburger buns are looking great here. I'm doing a little mixture of some milk and egg yolk and then sprinkling some sesame seeds on, and I'm getting those baked as well. Looks like the rise times worked out really nicely for those. I don't see any over fermentation this time, which I always love. And I like a nice tall rise on the buns so that they're easy to slice and easy to fit that burger patty into it and the toppings. next we are going to get started on the other thing that I'm making today, which is the super fun springtime sourdough dessert that we've been really enjoying. And I'm excited to share this. Again, like the other recipes, this will be linked down below if you'd like to try it for yourself. But I am starting by grating some carrots, chopping up some walnuts and setting those aside, and then I'm going to be mixing up my sourdough starter with some flour, some eggs, and a bunch of other really beautiful ingredients, including some melted butter, and it's going to come together to make a really nice sourdough cake batter. So this is a sourdough carrot cake, and it goes together really easily. I do have to make sure that I have the nuts on hand. Otherwise, everything else is really stuff that I keep on hand all the time. So it's easy to just work this into my weekly sourdough baking and have a really fun, festive, kind of springtime fresh dessert to enjoy during the week. So we've really been enjoying that. I'm just putting that together. I am using the method of making it in a 9x13 glass pan, just because that's really easy. Minimal work, minimal dishes, and it just works really nicely for just like a casual weekday dessert. You can also do this in 8-inch round cake pans and do like a layered type of a cake, and that works really nicely too. I did do this again later for a birthday party, and that worked out great. It just is a little bit more fancy when it's in that shape, but for just kind of an everyday treat, the 9x13 pan is super easy and works really, really well. For sweetener, I'm doing sucanat. I really love sucanat because it's like a whole version of cane sugar where it's really just purely dehydrated cane juice. All of the vitamins and minerals are still there. And if you're familiar with that at all, whenever our body needs to digest sugar, it needs a lot of magnesium, especially, and some other minerals too, in order to do that, but especially magnesium. And so that's one of the things that can happen when somebody has trouble eating sugar, is it just takes a lot of magnesium from the body to digest that. But the neat thing is, if you're eating a whole sweetener like sucanat or honey, maple syrup, sugars found in fruit, for example, it comes with the magnesium that the body needs in the right amount to be able to digest that. It's when we are using refined sweeteners where those vitamins and minerals have been taken away, like a white sugar, for example, that we run into trouble. So I really like using sucanat. Now it does have a dark brown color, and so that can sometimes be a little bit challenging depending on what you're making, but I tend to stick more towards brown things, like this nice carrot cake that's got the cinnamon in it, the nuts, the nice carrots, so the brown color is no problem at all. And then if you're doing like something with chocolate in it, obviously brown is not a problem there either. So I find ways to make it work, and I really love to use primarily whole sweeteners so that we are not depriving ourselves of those important vitamins and minerals. So this was another long fermentation recipe. Using sourdough, I let it sit out and ferment on the counter all day once I had the dough, or batter rather, mixed together. And then a neat thing about this recipe is that if you're not ready to bake it, if you'd like it to be more fresh baked for a certain day, you can also just stick the batter in the refrigerator to slow down the fermentation and just let it sit until you're ready. On this day, I went ahead and just baked it when it was finished fermenting. For my sourdough long fermentation, I like a minimum of 7 hours to ferment everything, because according to Nourishing Traditions, that is the amount of time needed to break down those anti-nutrients and make the grains the most digestible and unlock those nutrients optimally. So I like to aim for at least 7 hours. Longer is even better yet. So that is baking, cooling. Once it's cooled, I'm going to go ahead and put together a really nice cream cheese frosting. So this is like a cream cheese buttercream frosting that is sweetened with honey. I really, really like it. So I have some vanilla that I'm adding, my raw honey, got room temperature butter in there. I have some probiotic Nancy's sour cream that has been sitting at room temperature, and then I'm going to whip all of that together. I do believe I add a nice generous pinch of salt to that as well. And then, yeah, just whipping that all together until it's really nice and fluffy. It comes together so nicely. It's still a nice light cream cheese frosting color. It doesn't get too dark from the honey, which I really like. Once this is really nice and fluffy, I'll go ahead and just spread this all over the top of the cake. I'll have this frosting recipe linked down below too, but it's been one of my favorites for a long time. We'll use this on a variety of things. We'll even put it on chocolate cake sometimes. I really like it because it's so rich, full of really healthy fats from especially the butter in there, but the cream cheese also. It's not super sweet. It's just the perfect amount of rich, creamy complement to that sweeter carrot cake with the nice cinnamon spice flavor in it. So I'm spreading that over, and then I also saved some of the chopped walnuts from earlier when I was cutting them up and adding them to the cake batter. And then so I have some of those that I'm going to sprinkle over the top of the cake, and just makes it really nice to have those on top as well. And we definitely enjoyed eating this. It lasted us a few days between all of us having a piece like after dinner for dessert or something like that. So it was a good one to kind of keep around and enjoy for a while. It was big enough for that. So it would be great for company or a party or taking to someone or bringing somewhere. Definitely one of our favorites. So I hope that you enjoyed coming along for this week of sourdough baking at our house with more of a springtime theme to it and a fun new dessert. Make sure to check out my Patreon, where very soon I'm going to start doing live cook with me videos. But I hope that you enjoyed this, and thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!